part of the solution, not part of the pollution. Anonymous. Yontan Mama takes Tara and Charu Chachi to the library of his hotel, which is actually in the attic, to view the sun setting over the mountains of Kinnor.
What a spectacular view! The setting sun has painted the mountains with a golden light. How peaceful it seems!
You sound very poetic, Tara. Let us wait. You will soon get to see the stars of the night sky.
There is the evening star. Master Ji has told us that it is actually planet Venus. It is not a star. And wow! Already so many stars have come out. The sky is covered by them. Millions and millions.
Can you see that cluster there? It looks like a galaxy. Since it is a new moon night, the stars can be seen even more clearly.
Actually, at this altitude, since the air is so thin, on full moon nights it is extremely bright, almost as bright as day. In the autumn, people take advantage here of this brightness to harvest their fields, even at night. Harvesting always needs to be done in haste before it starts snowing, as that would ruin the crops.
Just imagine working in the fields even at night.
The entire family is in the fields then, cutting the crops, threshing, winnowing.
But what if the wolves come howling at night?
You are right. Sometimes we do get to hear the howling of wolves, but they keep away from the fields where everybody is singing loudly while working.
I wish I too could be part of this harvesting fun, singing while working at night.
Elsewhere in the big cities, life at night is so different. Bright artificial lights everywhere. On buildings, street lights, car headlights. The light pollution prevents people from seeing any stars.
And isn't it a waste of so much electricity?
Bilkul sahi. This light pollution also causes many problems, both to man and animals.
What are the problems caused by light pollution? Can you tell us, Charu Chachi?
Sometimes the lights in open spaces or on streets are too harsh. They can cause temporary blinding in a person.
And it can lead to accidents while people are crossing the road or even to those who are driving, na?
Bilkul sahi.
अरे पॉली तू जागते हो? So you were listening to our conversation and agree that bright artificial lights are harmful?
When bright light from outside comes in through the window, it is called trespass light. In big cities like New York, they have advertisements in the form of huge signboards, all lit up on their tall high-rise buildings, so that they can be seen even from far.
क्या बात है? The light from them can act as a trespass for people living nearby. And when the people's sleep gets disturbed owing to light pollution, it can affect their health also, isn't it?
You hit the nail on the head. Yes, absolutely right.
I just thought of something. People like to celebrate weddings and parties by lighting up trees. They look very attractive, but how disturbing it must be for the birds, squirrels, lizards, and other creatures living in them.
You are so right, Tara. The sleep of birds, squirrels, and other creatures too could be disturbed. Also, all those lights may be heating up the trees too.
Oh yes, wildlife too gets affected in a number of ways by light pollution. The birds would keep awake thinking it is daytime, and nocturnal birds like owls who depend on darkness to hunt cannot do so.
And what if there are chicks in the nest? They wouldn't sleep at night because of the bright lights and keep demanding for food. Their poor parents would have no rest, as they would have to feed them both day and night.
Really, Tara, you think of every little thing. But what you say is absolutely true.
The city glow succeeds in confusing migrating birds too. Certain birds like herons migrate only in daylight using landmarks like forests, mountains, rivers, and even the angle of the sun to guide them in the right direction.
So, they try flying at night too when the city glow makes it look like day, and then they get confused, not being able to find their usual landmarks, I suppose.
And those who depend on darkness to migrate to avoid predators like orioles look for stars to guide them.
But again, instead of seeing the stars, they get to see the city glow and get confused. Poor things.
Bilkul sahi. There is yet another story about animals getting affected by light pollution.
Tell us, please tell us, Charu Chachi. Even Yontan Mama and Polly are so interested. Aren't you, Polly?
Yes, on chilly evenings, my guests like to sit around in the hall after dinner talking of this and that. I could regale them with these stories. And it would be a great way of sensitizing people about our environment.
So, this is about turtle hatchlings. Each year, female turtles swim across miles of oceans to come back to the same beach to make burrows in the sand and lay their eggs inside.
I know. They use the Earth's magnetism to find their way back to the same beach. How amazing!
Yes, and when the eggs finally hatch in the night, the little hatchlings have a tough time. They have to crawl all the way back to the sea. The shimmering light of the sea waves is what they rely upon to guide them back.
Oh, but the city glow may be much brighter, and instead of crawling towards the sea, they crawl to the city roads. Oh no! They could get run over by the cars.
Bilkul sahi, Tara. But fortunately, awareness is now spreading. Several NGOs post volunteers who pick up the hatchlings the minute they come out of their burrows and then carry them to the sea. In many places, the street lights are switched off on the night of the hatching. The beach is covered with hundreds of baby turtles.
I wish people would realize how much harm excess of artificial lights can cause. What about the oceans? Does the city glow affect the marine life too?
Arey haan, good thing you reminded me. There is this story about coral reefs.
What is the story? Please tell, Charu Chachi.
The coral reefs can only reproduce in moonlight around October or November each year. It is a beautiful sight. Colorful sperms and egg cells are released by them into the water, looking like a fireworks display.
Wow, what a sight it must be!
Once the sperms and egg cells fuse together, they settle on some rock and begin to grow a new colony.
So again, the city glow overshadows the moonlight and interferes with the reproduction cycle, isn't it?
Very true.
Charu Chachi, you have told us so many amazing stories about light pollution. I am going to talk to my friends about this. But what about other effects on our environment that need to be looked into?
Oh yes, there is this issue of GM crops, genetically modified crops.
What are genetically modified crops, Charu Chachi?
Man has learned to change the genes of certain plants such that they acquire certain desired qualities like greater resistance to diseases, being more nutritious and not rotting easily.
How do they manage to do this?
They cut out a part of the DNA in the nucleus of an organism which imparts a desired quality and join it to the DNA of the plant in which this desired quality is to be introduced.
In which plants have they done genetic engineering to produce such valuable traits?
In many crops. For example, they have produced cotton plants that are now poisonous to harmful insects.
So, the harmful insects do not destroy the cotton crops?
Yes, there are other GM crops too, like soya beans, papaya, potato and maize. Many more are still in the experimental stage.
क्या बात है? Did you hear that, Polly? A miracle performed by man.
But there is a flip side to it. Man interferes with nature at his own risk. By introducing a new gene in another organism's DNA, they could accidentally introduce something that may cause harm. For instance, genes from a plant causing severe allergy could be transferred to a target plant.
Oh yes, we never know what harm eating of GM crops could cause in the long run.
Bilkul sahi. Also, a changed gene may harm wildlife and indirectly harm the environment too.
How does the environment get harmed?
Engineered genes from commercial plants are leaking into weed populations and unmodified crops. In the years to come, genetically altered super weeds could become a severe environmental hazard.
Acha, did you hear that, Polly?
Yes, this is producing serious economic problems among farmers. The effect of biological contamination caused by GE crops and other species. In fact, it will multiply and spread, drastically altering ecosystems and threatening natural plant and animal species.
I just remembered another negative impact to our environment. While we were driving from Delhi to Kinnaur, we passed so many small towns and villages. All of them seem to have huge dumps of solid garbage, either inside their towns or at the outskirts. Isn't that the most harmful to humans and animals?
You reminded me of a very important issue, Tara. Everywhere there are humans, there is sure to be waste. The problem is many places do not use the right method to dispose it.
Why do humans have to produce so much waste? Why can't everybody take care and recycle their solid waste? Yes, Polly, I can see you nodding your head. You do not pursue any waste that would harm the environment like us humans.
Nowadays, the new trend is to order everything online, whether it is food or clothes or books or furniture or medicine. Everything is available with the click of a few keys on the mobile phone. All these goods come with huge amounts of packaging, which includes recyclable cardboard, but also a lot of plastic and sometimes even thermocol.
But we have learned that thermocol is non-biodegradable. It stays on our environment for years and years.
Bilkul sahi. Scientists have found that there is an incredible amount of plastic in our oceans, and even the fish have plastic in their bodies.
Oh no! That means when people eat fish, they get plastic in their bodies too?
In my hotel, the tourists are responsible for a lot of electronic waste like batteries, headphones, and even old mobile phones.
Indeed, electronic waste is a mounting problem everywhere because of so much usage of phones and other electronic devices.
The government must be having to face such a huge problem trying to dispose of this waste in a manner that it does not harm people and the environment.
You hit the nail on the head, Tara. To make their job easier, the solid waste is divided into 5 types: municipal, industrial, hazardous, biomedical, and electronic.
So, does each of these have a different method of disposal?
Yes, but by and large, the way to approach this problem is by using less goods, recycling and composting. Of course, electronic waste can be recycled but not composted. But biomedical waste can first be rendered harmless and then composted.
But what happens to all that waste which cannot be recycled or composted?
That is simply dumped. In many places, the municipal solid waste is simply dumped in some low-lying areas and a bulldozer then runs over it, leveling it all.
But isn't that very hazardous for health? So many hazardous chemicals could leach into the ground.
Yes, it is. In big cities, is to pour it all into a landfill.
How is a landfill different from a dumping ground?
A landfill is specially constructed to deal with the waste and is more hygienic and better organized. It ensures toxic chemicals do not leach into the ground. It is also a method of minimizing air pollution, obnoxious odors, even greenhouse gas emissions, and ensures there is no fire hazard because of all the matter in the dump.
One of my guests at the hotel who had come from Mumbai was telling me about the Deonar dumping site.
What about the Deonar dumping site? Do tell us, Yontan Mama.
It is India's oldest and largest dumping ground. Every day, 5,500 tons of garbage, 600 tons of silt, and 25 tons of biomedical waste were being dumped into it.
क्या बात है? So much just in one day. Did you hear that, Polly?
In the year 2014, the waste was like a mountain, as high as an 18-story building.
Didn't the people staying around complain?
They did. Some of them even went on a hunger strike to protest against all the pollution and the frequent fires there. In January 2016, 74 schools in the vicinity had to close down for 2 days because of the fire at the dumping site.
Did they come up with any solution?
Yes, the municipality decided to close a part of the dumping site and instead use that area for generating electricity by extracting methane from the garbage in the rest of the area.
As the population keeps increasing, more and more people are churning out more and more garbage. It is a huge problem for the civic authorities to take care of.
The air around the garbage dumping sites must be so harmful to all life.
And this same harmful air containing unwanted gases, smog, and toxic particulate matter gets blown by the wind and travels far and wide, affecting other areas as well.
Ultimately, it affects millions of people, especially in big cities like Mumbai and Delhi, na?
Oh yes, especially for people suffering from asthma. For other people too, it can cause a burning sensation in the eyes and give rise to lung diseases.
Arey हाँ, what about water pollutions? People and even some industries find it very convenient to use our lakes, rivers and ponds as dumps for unwanted matter, na?
Sadly, yes. Even too much of biodegradable matter can be harmful. Did you know water-dwelling microorganisms devour biodegradable materials? Too much biodegradable material in water promotes bacteria growth, diminishing oxygen availability. It's called oxygen depletion.
Sachi, that means the aquatic life doesn't get enough oxygen to breathe?
Bilkul sahi. Even the aerobic bacteria die when water oxygen levels fall below a certain level, while anaerobic bacteria thrive. Some anaerobic microbes create toxins that affect humans, animals, and the environment. They die, and the nutrients released cause eutrophication of the water body.
Eutrophication. What does that mean?
It means that due to excess of nutrients, there can be an algal bloom in the entire water body, which competes with the original natural biodiversity.
It's sad to know that the environment all over the world is being degraded by man's activities.
Yes, a polluted environment boomerangs back to us humans, making it risky to our lives and to the lives of all those creatures we share the planet with. After the discussion with Charu Chachi and Yontan Mama about the various environmental problems, Tara was inspired into writing a poem which could serve as a message to people about protecting our environment. Yontan Mama agreed to put it up in his hotel foyer as well as in the surrounding villages for people to read. This is her message. Waste not, dear people, what you want not. We don't want mountains of garbage to change our planet's pristine landscapes. Don't you prefer the fragrance of flowers to those obnoxious waste gas odors? Spare a thought for yourself, for each other, and for all those innocent creatures. We all need a pure, clean environment. With a little bit of care, we can have it. Precious is our living planet, and so is the environment. Take utmost care to protect it.